Good afternoon, everybody. This is immigration attorney Irene Weisman. Today is Friday, April 18th, 2025. To those who celebrate, happy Good Friday and happy Easter. It's coming up on Sunday. I wish you all health and peace and prosperity. Today, I decided to do a very important topic, very relevant topic. I'm gonna put the news aside a little bit. I know the news have been overwhelming. I'm gonna return back to the news next week. But today I wanted to discuss citizenship and naturalization. The eligibility, the importance, especially in today's world, the importance of becoming a U.S. citizen if you're living in this country. It simply protects your rights when you are a U.S. citizen. It protects your rights inside the country. It protects your rights as it relates to immigration law. It protects your rights for future pension benefits. Once you're older, if you lived here, worked in the system, paid into the Social Security system, you want to be a U.S. citizen to be able to subsequently get certain benefits. Obviously, the eligibility to vote, serve on the jury. Not everybody is excited about that, but it is nevertheless the benefits of becoming a U.S. citizen, and the blue U.S. passport. It really does protect you around the world. God forbid something happens to you when you're abroad, and you are an American citizen, and you have that protection from the Department of State. So I think in my personal opinion, becoming a U.S. citizen is very important. I always recommend to apply for citizenship as soon as you become eligible to do so. So don't wait for years and years and years to become a U.S. citizen, because you just never know what's going to happen. So let's talk about the basic eligibility. So you have to be a green card holder. So people who obtained their green card through a marriage to U.S. citizen and who continue to be residing together with their spouse in a bona fide marital union are eligible to apply for citizenship 3 years after they have received their green card, and as opposed to the 5 years for everybody else. And people who have received their green cards as an abused spouse, they can also apply after the 3 years. And there's certain, exceptions, for people who are in the active military service. They have their own rules. I'm not gonna talk about that right now. I'm just mainly talking about the general public right now. So 3 years, spouses of U.S. citizens who continue to reside in a bona fide marital union, and if you received your green card as an abused spouse. Everybody else, so those 3 years, everybody else 5 years after you receive that green card, must be 18 years of age, must have continuously resided in the United States for 2.5 out of the 5, or 1.5 out of the 3. No absences longer than 6 months. If you do have an absence of longer than 6 months, talk to an attorney. Was the absence excused? What were the circumstances? And then the timing can be figured out as to when you can do it. I must have good moral character. There is a lot we can discuss about good moral character, but generally, if you have an arrest, I don't care if it was subsequently dismissed, any citations, any arrests that you may have had, I don't care how long ago, may have been 30, 20 years ago, no matter where, you got to see an attorney. You got to get that disposition from the court. You got to get all those documents, show it to an immigration attorney before you file. Okay, very important. Very, very, very important, especially nowadays. I don't care how minor. People tell me, oh, it was just a misdemeanor, or it was just like something really minor, or it happened such a long time ago. I don't care. It doesn't matter. An attorney has to review it to determine your eligibility for citizenship. Okay, very important. And then it's possible that you're eligible for citizenship, but that conviction can make you deportable. So you can end up going to a citizenship interview and then end up in removal proceedings for that deportable conviction. So if you have an arrest, get the documents, get the dispose, go see an attorney. Okay, that's, you know, if you take anything from this, take this from this from this short video. For males who became green card holders, so actually didn't just become green card holders, who were in the United States between the ages of 18 and 25, selective service registration, very, very important. If you did not register for the selective service, then you probably would need to wait until you are 31 years of age to subsequently file for citizenship. Why 31? Because that would give you the 5 years of good moral character after the time that the selective service registration period ended. Okay, so just extremely important. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm gonna put this on Do Not Disturb. Okay, sorry about that. I usually put it on Do Not Disturb before I start the video, and I completely forgot today to do this. Anyways, so other things that would go into good moral character. If you have minor children and those children do not live with you, child support is very important. If you have court-ordered child support, gather those documents. You're gonna need them. If the child support is not court-ordered, you better have some sort of proof that you support your minor children if those kids do not reside with you, okay? So that would also go to the good moral character issue. Payment of income taxes, that's also very important. And if you owe taxes, then you have to have proof that you are on a payment plan with IRS and that you are following through with this payment plan. So you gotta have proof of that. That also goes to the good moral character requirement of the the good moral character component of citizenship and naturalization eligibility. So let's see. So no, I've already spoke about no travel for longer than 6 months. Continuous residence in the United States, must be residing in the state where you're gonna file for at least 3 months prior to filing. That's important too. And if you have all of that, then you are eligible to file for citizenship. Now, once again, if you have any arrests, you must see an attorney, and that's really important. And really, if you have any of the issues I just described, either the child support issue or the income tax issue or the selective service issue, really should speak with an attorney to discuss eligibility and how to go about filing for citizenship. Once documents are filed, you may or may not need to go to a biometrics appointment. Eventually, they'll call you in for your interview. At the interview, you're going to be expected to pass the civics test, the reading and writing tests, usually very basic. If you are a certain age and have had your green card for for a certain period of time, there may be some rules that you don't have to take, maybe the reading or writing test. For example, if you are older than 55 and had your green card for longer than 15 years, then it's just going to be the civics test. for people that are unable to take the test for some health reasons. There is an N648 waiver that's available that is very case by case basis, not granted easily. But usually, if you are disabled, or if you have a disabled relative, if it's an elderly relative and they have severe health issues, dementia, Alzheimer's, post-stroke, post-severe heart attack. There's so many things that can go into the component of the N648 waiver. So if you have encountered that, definitely speak to an attorney. Simply, I can't, my English is not that great, it's not gonna fly. Okay, you got to be able to demonstrate ability to speak and understand the English language. If you go to an interview and during the interview they determine that for some reason you are deportable, say for a criminal conviction, this is what's happening right now, okay? They will deny the citizenship, and notice to appear is going to be issued asking you to appear in immigration court. So once again, for like the 20th time, if you have an arrest, speak to an attorney before you do anything. As I said, some arrests make you eligible to file for citizenship, but they also make you deportable. So you gotta assess if you are placed in removal proceedings. Am I eligible for relief? What can I apply for? Win my case and then reapply for citizenship. So that that can certainly happen as well. Some people do that as well. Once so let's talk about the citizenship interview again. You got the English and reading writing component. And then they'll go through the application, okay? They'll ask you questions on the application. Everything that's on your application is fair game. Everything that happened before is fair game. The officer is going to have your full entire file. Everything you've ever submitted in your life with USCIS, they're going to have, and they're going to review it before granting citizenship, okay? So you got to know what was there. This was a long time ago, this was like ages ago. I handled the case from start to finish. This was a marriage-based case. I did the initial green card, the 2-year green card, and then citizenship. And during both the green card processes, my clients, they had just had a ton of joint documents. We really put forth a really good case with joint documents. And, the file was like really big. And we go in for an interview. And the officer looks at me, he's like, counsel, why is this file so big? And I was like, well, we submitted a lot of evidence during the 751 process. And this was a clean case, no arrests, no issues whatsoever. But there were a lot of documents because when, I properly handled the case, there were a ton of documents. And, so I just explained to the officer, we laughed about it a little bit, and obviously everything was great. But yes, that did happen before. And yesterday I was at a citizenship interview, and, was just able to answer questions for the officer. And then at some point she just looks at my client and goes, your attorney can write a book about you. She seems to know everything about this. But, his immigration history goes a long time back, so I actually did not handle his green card, but I knew of his entire immigration history because that's what we do. That's how you properly handle a case that has problems and issues. So why is it so important to file for citizenship? So unfortunately, anything can happen. People can get arrested, and inadvertently, really, really inadvertently. And in today's world, really, it's the being a naturalized citizen that's what's going to protect you. So if you are eligible, please consider filing for citizenship, because I just can't stress enough the importance of this and the protection it provides in the United States and outside of the United States. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. Happy Good Friday and happy Easter to those who celebrate. And I will talk to you next week. Have a good weekend.